CardGamesTV1 Podcast. My standard of gameplay. You know, everybody has their standards, you know. Everybody has their, meta, format, whatever. Whatever they want to look at it. I always have my own way of doing things. Ironically, it's not the wrong way, right? A lot of people like to act like my way is the wrong way, or just because it's different, they like to think that one way, is the way, right? Well, everybody else is, playing meta, so you gotta play meta too. It's like, no, you can play anti-meta. You can go against it. You don't have to do what everybody else does. You could do something different. But at the same time, just because everybody's doing the same thing doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean that it's the right thing, right? Everybody could be wrong, right? Everybody could be playing the game wrong. So, if you realize that and you see that there is another way of playing the game, and it's a much better way, it's a much more logical way, then go that route, right? Don't limit yourself to the idea that it's like you gotta do what everybody else is doing. It's not a bad start, right? It's the same thing with net decking. You know what I mean? I don't support the idea of trying to promote the idea that everybody has a net deck and net decking is okay. Net decking is something you can do, but not something that everyone should be doing, right? Everybody shouldn't be net decking, right? Just for the sake of net decking. There should be a purpose for it, and the purpose should be to give you a starting point, to give you an idea of what you could do, what's possible, not acting like that's the end all be all and that's the only way to play. Because there's some people who play decks in a specific build, and everybody's build is the same, and this is how you end up with mirror matches. You end up situation where people are playing the exact same deck, which is why when a deck tops, it's not because it was just one person who was playing that specific deck in a specific build topped. There was a lot of people who was playing the same build and topped, right? Now, of course, it's great when people are topping with decks that no one else is playing, right? That's a true testament to the player's skill level, as well as just the deck in general. Because if a deck can top that no one else is playing, that right there lets you know that anything can win. And I've been promoting that for a long time, that any deck can win. This is why I don't promote the idea of net decking. This is why I don't net deck, right? This is why I don't see a deck out there and be like, oh, I want to play that deck. I might be inspired by a deck. I'll be like, oh, I like what that deck's trying to do. It's trying to play a certain card, but it's not playing it at the most optimal way. Or like it's just a tech card, but it could be the deck's main strategy. So then I'll build a deck that, heavily focuses on that one card and makes that one card, important, right? Like let's say somebody uses Tragedy Overground as a tech card, but I'm like, but I can make it a win con, right? Or I can make it the main strategy of the deck, right? So that's the kind of stuff I would do. Let's see. Let's say there's a specific ultimate that's really good, and I'll try to find a way to make a deck that can easily search it out, right? Or at least get access to the card, to the ultimate. Like, let's say Selzeno. That's a good example. So Selzeno, pretty much a one-card win con. So of course you want to make sure the deck can summon it, but also can search it. So then I'll play a deck that is pretty good at drawing, is pretty good at searching, that kind of stuff. Has the ability to shuffle the deck, that kind of thing. That way it drastically increases the chances of me getting that one copy of Selzeno. If it's not in my life, obviously. hopefully it's in my deck and I'm able to search or draw into it, and go from there. There's some decks, some leaders that have the ability to draw a lot, and you could throw in other cards that can help you draw, like unisons, and then create a whole entire draw engine. That's one of the things that I've been doing lately, is making sure that I incorporate more draw engines into my decks, so that way I have draw power, right? If I have draw power, especially if the deck doesn't inherently have draw power, or I have to meet certain conditions to get draw power, then of course I'll have some generic stuff I can splash into the decks to help me get draw power. So for example, Shenron Figure Majesty, that serves three purposes, but two main ones, which is draw one card per turn with its with its effect, and the ability to untap 2 energy. So drawing a card and untapping 2 energy. Put that in every deck, and now every deck essentially is Soul Striker, right? You get the benefits of Soul Striker, because that's the only reason Soul Striker, the leader, is a good leader, because of its ability to draw a card and untap 2 energy on the awakened side, and that's what makes it such a big deal. Just like any other blue leader that untaps energy, what makes them powerful is the energy untapping. But any leader with that ability would be powerful. Imagine Hatchiak. Imagine if Hatchiak was revamped and had the ability to untap energy. Oh man, that'd be busted. Imagine drawing a card and untapping energy. Well, I don't have to imagine, since I use Shenron Figure Majesty in my Hatchiak deck, so that solves that problem, right? So that way I can draw a card, especially if I don't awaken my leader, which in my blue deck I don't awaken the leader, so the ability to use Shenron as a draw engine, using Raditz Giant Force as a draw engine. The leader on the front side, I can still draw a card. I just gotta mill one, put one under my leader, and then draw, right? So I still can draw with the leader, even if I don't awaken. So I have the potential to draw 3 cards a turn, just with the leader, Unison, and Shenron Figure Majesty. Plus, they'll keep 2 energy up for Oceanus, for my negates, Dirty Burst, or anything of that nature. So that's obviously being options, but that's the main thing, is like putting things into decks that help you draw. Most of my blue unisons have draw effects, so I already had some draw power, but sometimes the draw power can be a little limiting. But the Shenron helps with that, and the ability to draw and untap. Too powerful, too busted. Which is why I used to use Shenron a long time ago, but then after a while I stopped using it. But now I'm back to using it again. Especially when you're going up against decks that draw a lot. Have you seen any of my recent gameplays? You see you see my opponents be having shit tons of cards in their hands, way more than me. But I'm still dominating them, of course. But they have more cards than me, which gives them at least it gives them defensive capabilities, right? Which is usually which is a problem. I don't care much for offense. I don't care if they want to attack and dump their whole hand into a single attack. If they got it, they got it, right? But that's a little irrelevant. It's their ability to stop me from going for game, right? That's where big hand size becomes a problem. Offensively, I don't care, but defensively, yeah, I do care about my opponent having a big hand size. So I definitely want to be able to find a way to bypass it, or at least increase my hand size, so at least I can hold my own, right? Be able to stay in the game longer, defending myself, and then coming at my opponent. But the new thing I have, besides using the Shenron as a draw / energy untap engine, So it's kind of like having Bean in every deck. And then of course I got the skillless, aggro strategy that I could put in any deck. So pretty much all my decks have aggro, draw engines, right? Draw a lot of cards, a lot of draw power, and what is it? That's it. All right, aggro, a lot of draw power, energy manipulation. Like I'm trying to incorporate a lot of the best effects, a lot of the best, things, strategies, right? Whatever you want to call it, into all my decks, right? Of course, we have floodgates, right? Floodgate, board wipe. Got to have those two. Got to have floodgates and have board wipes in your decks. I've been doing that for a long time. It's like, especially if you're playing competitively, you definitely need to have that life gain or rejuvenate, as it's called. Definitely, stuff you want to look into. Definitely want to make it work, make it viable. There is some way of, being able to rejuvenate in red, consistently. So I might do that someday, where I'll put together a red rejuvenate strategy. But right now, the easiest rejuvenate strategy is the blue rejuvenate strategy, which, I'm already splashing a lot of different blue decks. Since I mainly play blue and black, but I do also play red, so having a red rejuvenate strategy is obviously something I want to put together and then put it out there for those who want to try it out. Of course, rejuvenate in Boma will be busted. But that is literally my job, my existence as a card game player, is to figure out and exploit and share OP busted ideas. So yeah, red rejuvenate, look forward to that. Especially in Boma. I mean, I already do, burn with Boma, Boma burn. We all know I've been doing that for a long while. And then we had Danny. Danny's been topping with, Boma burn. What was interesting was when it originally was pointed out that he was playing Boma mill. And he was, it's just that there was a small element of burn, like in his side deck at least. So he was able to swap out from mill to burn. So he had more than one way of winning. And of course he could win in time just by having more life than his opponent. But I like the idea of like the mill. I'm like, that sounds cool, Boma mill. Because Boma burn is obviously old. So of course a lot of people are caught on to that already. But then being able to go back and be like, all right, I want to, with some of the newer toys. For example, there's a new Sin Shenron 2-drop Unison, and there's the old 3-drop Shenron Unison. So now we have a new Shenron Unison. It's a 2-drop, and it's a blocker, and then it has the ability to gain a marker and block. So that's pretty nice. So that's definitely something that would be useful to play with in Boma. So it has potential. So definitely we'll be looking into trying that out in Boma. But definitely would like to be able to do rejuvenate. Let's see what else. But like I said, like my format, my standards, basically, right? Is always to try to make every color viable, every color playable. So that way, if I feel like playing yellow, I can play yellow. If I feel like playing green, I'll play green, right? Every color is good. I always hate hearing people trying to say a certain color is bad. It's like, no, the color is not bad. It's the players that are. Players are not trying to make these colors good. They're just either A, expecting the color to be good because an archetype came out and it makes that color good, you know. So it's like, oh look, this is a good green deck. Green is good again, or some shit like that. Or finally green is good. And it's like, green always been good. It's just people don't use green like that. But the irony is green has been hit multiple times, which lets you know that green always was good. It's just people don't respect it. It's funny, when green is dominating and topping tournaments, people are complaining that green is good, right? And they want something to be done about green. So then green gets hit, so that way it's less popular, less, you know, quote unquote good. So then people start playing green, start playing other colors. But then immediately be like, oh yeah, green is terrible. It's like, it's just a weird concept out of all the colors. It's funny that green gets shitted on. It's like, green is bad, green is terrible, green does nothing. It's like, green does a lot, and green does something really, really strong, really, really busted. It's the anti-draw, right? The anti-card advantage color. It's a color that tries to beat your opponent's hand, so that way you don't have to, right? It tries to beat your opponent's hand, so that way you have a fighting chance of being able to go for the killing blow. So I'm a fan of green, you know, in what it can do, even if I don't play green a lot, but I am a fan of it. You know, the good old cell days, right? Cell chain days. And now we got new cell support, so I got a new cell deck. I have that put together. So I got the nice busted cell deck. I can drop my opponent's hand size down to 3. Overrealm, drop the hand size down to 2. Attack, play a super combo from my hand. Android 18, you know, Bionic Blitz, right? Knock another card out my opponent's hand, and GG, right? That kind of stuff. So it's definitely viable. Surprisingly, not many people are trying to at least use my version of Cell, which is more consistent in the, you know, derping your opponent's hand and going for game strategy. And it's a little, you know, it's a little more aggro than the original, than the, you know, structure deck version that everybody else likes to play. And it's funny, people were playing for a while, but it seems like there's less people playing it. Less, not that no one's playing, it's just less. But anyway, like I was saying earlier, you know, I'm always improving my meta, my play style, my format, whatever you want to call it, my way of playing the game. The irony is, you know, focusing on trying to you know, master the art of combo-less or no combo combat, right? No combo gameplay. But then they create the Zenkai series, and it highly encourages the idea of comboing. So, and there's some really good cards, you know, that would be nice to have access to. And I've been wanting a extra deck, you know, concept, you know, to be added to the game, so that way you can have extra cards on the side that are generic, that whenever you need them, you could access them, especially if it's going to be stuff like board wipes, right? Maybe a floodgate. That'd be kind of cool to have, like, well, cool in one way, but bad in another way, right? Cool in one way. I was thinking like a floodgate, like a topo, right? Play a topo from your Z deck by using Z energy. Like, that'd be busted. I was also wondering if I can use Z energy to play cards in general, or it's only for Z cards. Only Z cards I can use the energy for it. Pretty sure it probably is just for Z cards, but it'd be cool if I can use it for anything, because then comboing so you can ramp, that'd be busted. But more likely that's why, you know, there's a high possibility that you cannot use Z energy for anything other than Z cards. It's only for paying the cost of Z. But man, it'd be busted if I could use it as ramp. Being able to drop Tragedy Overground on turn 3 would be busted, right? Like, be able to set it up like, combo, combo, ramp. But anyway, these are the kind of things that I think about. Like, it's like, how can I improve, right? How can I make things stronger when it comes to my decks? So definitely trying to improve my decks, make sure that they all can do almost the same thing. That's the funny thing. I made a video about it before, that all decks are the same. Obviously all decks are pretty much the same. Every aggro deck is an aggro deck. Every control deck is a control deck. Every mill deck is a mill deck, right? It's just different ways of doing the same thing, right? Different strokes for different folks, as they say, right? Or the same stroke for different folks. Whatever works. But yeah, I'd definitely be thinking about what I can add to a deck to make it a little bit better, especially against certain matchups. Since I don't side deck, everything that I play has to be main deck. So I have to build the deck to be optimal, premium, right? The best, final form type shit. You can't be trying to tag in other decks or strategies, And I always try to make sure that inherently, generically, whatever I use in my decks serve multiple purposes. Like, for example, Shenron Figure Majesty, with the ability to draw a card with it, and then some of my unisons, even my leader drawing cards, that helps me with hand control, right? That's anti-hand control right there, inherently, because of drawing cards. So I don't have to worry about, my opponent hurting my hands with that. The fact that I play a combo-less strategy where I try to combo a lot less. I try to not combo as much when I play, so that way, I will have a lot of cards in my hands. So if my opponent was to try to hand control me, at least I won't be losing twice as much. Like, I want to be in a scenario where I combo a card from my hand, then my opponent plays a card effect that rips the card out of my hand. It's like, damn, I just lost 2 cards. I'd rather lose 1 card from their card effect than to lose 2 cards because I comboed and they activated a card effect. Like, for example, not a good idea when your opponent attacks with the Raditz leader, and right, which means you rip a card from your hand and then combo to try to stop the attack. It's going to cause you to rip another card from your hand. So that type of scenario, I would just let my opponent rip the card out my hand, right? Take the damage so I can replace the card that I just lost with, a card from my life. And then, draw for my turn, charge, the usual. And then hopefully my leader has the ability to draw a card so I can, swing, draw, play a unison that has the ability to draw and go from there. So, try to counter and mitigate the anti-draw, right? The anti-card advantage aspect of green by drawing a whole bunch of cards. So that's the kind of mindset that I try to have. Playing cards that have the ability to draw. Obviously play things that have 20k power and above, 30k power and above, obviously 40k above, ideally. Dual attack, double strike. I mentioned this stuff before. The ability to attack more than once, that helps to get through negates. Being able to do more than 1 damage with a single attack, like having double strike on something that has dual attack is always good. That's potential for damage, or at least a minimum of 2 damage. You want stuff that sticks on board, like unisons, which is why I play a lot of unisons, because you always want to make sure you have a unison and you can use the unison, and the unison's putting in work. And sometimes you just need something for energy, and unisons tend to be good charge targets, good dedicated charge targets. Even though I try to combo, very, very little, I still will incorporate some form of combo power, something that I can use as combo power, like the 4-star ball Goku Adventure Begins engine, right? Or use some type of card that can boost my leader, so I can try to out combo some attacks, or play Floodgate Negates so I don't have to combo at all. Use blockers so I don't have to combo at all, right? Just Deadly Defenders, just always trying to redirect attacks away from my leader reduces the need for me to combo defensively. The other thing is try not to combo offensively, only combo defensively. That way, it reduces how much you have to combo if you're not comboing when you attack and when you're defending, just only when you defend. It's all the stuff that I, been sharing over the years, culminating together into, a way of playing the game, my style of playing the game, based off of my experience, based off of, my trial and errors, right? Me testing out different concepts and strategies, playing fast, playing slow, playing aggro, play defense, play control, play mill, play burn, play hand control, like trying different things and seeing what tends to work out the best. Ironically, I don't play hand control as much just because there is a lot of draw power in the game, and some people have been making a habit of trying to find ways to defend themselves against hand control that it makes it almost pointless to play hand control. I lean more towards hand destruction, which is get rid of their hand all in one shot as opposed to try to pick at their hand. Because hand control is just picking at their hand, trying to control their hand, when I'd rather just rip their hand apart and make it where they don't have a hand, especially when I want to go for game. Doing stuff like looking at my opponent's hands, setting up my opponent to burn themselves through card effects that says when your opponent plays a counter skill, burn them, or they play a battle card, burn them, or something of that nature. Obviously we're waiting for more cards like that. Imagine if they made a counter that for red, right, that doesn't actually counter the card. It just lets you play it in response to them playing, a counter card, like a counter play or counter as a counter attack, and the only effect is to burn your opponent. That'd be cool. That'd be kind of cool. I would like to see that. I would like to try that out. That'd be fun. My opponent tries to drop Gossing and Trunks on me, I'll be like, take this, burn you for one for doing that, that kind of stuff. That'd be kind of cool. Obviously the closest thing I have so far is Goku Eye for an Eye and Broly Counter Reversal. Those are like the two main battle cards that have that ability. I would like a couple more cards to have that effect. I would like to see that effect more often. So yeah, definitely a fan of that effect. Let's see. Obviously, I'm always going to be a fan of any card that burns, especially if it burns more than one damage. That's always good. That's why I like the Fireball strategy, where I can pump a lot of energy into that and then go boom. That's why it's like, man, if I can use the Z energy to play other cards, or at least the skill of cards, like that'd be busted. Like if I can use the Z energy for the effect of a card, that'd be delicious. We'll see what the rulings say, but man, that'd be nice. I would love to be able to use the Z energy strategy in Bulma, so I can just get that extra energy to be like, bang, burn you for 6. Woohoo! Let's see what else. Not much. I always try to make the game simple, not complicated, so that way I don't have to. Because I try to make the game not like chess. Other people like to try to make the game sound like chess, make it sound complicated and hard, and only the elite players can play the game and blah 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 and all that nonsense. It's like, no, the game is simple, straightforward. It's like tic-tac-toe, right? You just need to make sure that you understand the game well enough to know that, and I'm talking about the game, not the meta, not what people are, what decks people are playing, what cards people are playing, no, the game itself, like understanding the basic principles. The first 4 damage is the easiest, next 2 require a little effort, the last 2 is the hardest type stuff. And understand that since it's not that hard to do 4 or more damage in the first couple turns of the game, if you can keep your life points high, you'll win in time, or you find a way to burn your opponent for game, or reduce your opponent's hand size and then go for game. That would be harder for them to, obviously out combo your attack. Because you could avoid negates, obviously, by playing things that have dual attack that can attack more than once. There are some unisons that can attack, that do have triple attack. So look for that. Look for unisons and any card that has triple attack. Ideally, you want, if it's a battle card, you want for it to have deflect, obviously, to avoid gasoline trunks and anything similar to that. But definitely you want it to have at least triple attack. Let's take it up a notch. Instead of dual attack, triple attack. And there's a unison, there's a red unison that becomes a 20k triple attacker, and that's the Golden Frieza and Android 17 tag team, whatever, unison. That's a decent unison you can use. They can attack 3 times, and all you have to do is try to give it double strike, or if you could give it triple strike, right? So that's something I'd definitely be looking for. That's another thing. It'd be nice to definitely waiting for Bandai to create a way of giving something triple strike, like a unison, obviously, right? So I can exploit the triple attack ability of some unisons. There's some unisons that can become 30k double strike and have dual attack, so look into that. So the ability to attack more than once with a 30k base power and double strike, obviously it's busted, and it's a unison, so it's immune to free counter plays, and then the fact that it attacks twice or 3 times helps you bypass some negates, so that way you can try to get your attack to go through and try to go for game. So obviously look for stuff like that. And what else did I try to do? Obviously always keep your defense up. You don't want to take damage turn 1 and turn 2. At least don't take damage turn 1. It's okay if you take damage turn 2, because after that, once you're on turn 3 and above, it'd be easier to protect your life, so you'll take way less damage, especially if you're using floodgate negates. You'll be good turn 3 and up. So keep your life points high. Make sure you knock your opponent's life down. Obviously, I already mentioned rejuvenate earlier. Obviously try to incorporate some of that, because the more life you have, the more turns you have to play the game. So the longer you last, the more chances you have to potentially win. So do whatever you can to stay in the game longer, right? Rejuvenate, floodgate, Pizzagate, no, I'm kidding. Mill your opponent, burn your opponent, slow your opponent down as much as possible. Try to have cards that have multiple uses, for different situations. Whether you side deck or not, it's irrelevant. I don't side deck, but if you side deck, obviously that's extra benefit for you. But definitely make sure that everything you use has more than one use, more than one purpose, preferably more than one effect, so that way you can, that we have multiple options. The more options, the better, right? And then you want to Oh yeah, you definitely want these effects to take a while to resolve, if you know what I mean, right? So that way, not only do they do cool stuff and help you in certain problematic situations or help you get some card advantage, they help you manipulate time, right? Like hit transcending time, right? You wanna be able to manipulate time, especially if you're playing competitively. You want to be able to manipulate time and use time to your advantage, and win in time because you got more life than your opponent, because you're rejuvenated and it took a while to do so. It took a while to finish your turn type stuff, or you dealt a lot of damage to your opponent, and then you activate a whole bunch of effects that require you to draw, shuffle, search, play, activate this effect, which activates that effect, do this to that. If your opponent tries to counterplay, that's good. That's just one extra thing, one extra step, another action you have to resolve, and just do as much as you can, and and then just play, right? Play the game and see what happens. And that's the end of the podcast.